Welcome to episode 179 of Angela Watson's Truth for Teachers. I'm your host, Angela Watson, and I'm here to speak life, encouragement, and truth into the minds and hearts of educators and get you energized for the week ahead. Today, you'll get to listen in on a coaching call with a teacher named Rebecca, who wants to uncover why it takes her so long to get out the door on Fridays when she's trying to plan the next week ahead. Visit truthforteachers.com to get the transcript or find our new Truth for Teachers podcast community on Facebook. You can share your thoughts on the show there and reflect with other listeners in our private group. This episode is sponsored by ViewSonic Education. They're the creator of ViewBoard, an interactive whiteboard for the classroom, and My ViewBoard, which is a digital whiteboarding app that goes with it. Together, these two tools help teachers create engaging lessons anywhere and present them in the classroom. Search the internet, open your favorite apps, and play educational videos, all from your digital whiteboard. Finally, a solution that teaches the way you do. To learn more, visit viewsonic.com/education. So today's episode is a coaching call with a 7th grade honors and regular ELA teacher named Rebecca. So Rebecca is a graduate of the 40-hour Teacher Workweek Club, and she has put a lot of strategies in place to streamline her workload and focus on what really matters in her instruction. And she's been teaching for 25 years, so she has a lot of expertise. But Rebecca is feeling a little bit resentful about the late start that she's getting on her weekends because she's spending so much time getting her lessons prepared for the following week. She especially feels resentful about it because she's so experienced. She's wondering, isn't this supposed to get easier and faster at some point? Why can't she get out the door on time like her colleagues? So we're going to explore some ways that she can streamline her lesson planning process and avoid time wasters to meet her goal, which is to leave by 4 p.m. on Fridays. Listen in. So Rebecca, tell me about what was happening in your life a year or so ago that made you think it is time to join the club. What was your goal in joining?
I love this job and it just keeps me wanting to come back and keeps me energized. But oh my gosh, I'm still putting in 10-hour days so regularly. Fridays when I'm trying to get everything mapped out for that next week, I'm just one of the last to leave. And what am I doing wrong? I'm a good teacher, but I would think that I'd be winning every national award in the book with how many hours I put in, and so what's going on? And I've learned a lot from this program, just so much. And actually that is better what I just said, but I don't think I'm there yet.
So your goal is to not be the last one to leave the building, basically, to feel like the hours that you're working are really paying off and that they're commensurate with the results you're getting, is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
So what have you done to sort of move toward this goal or try to overcome this? What are some of the mindset shifts or some positive changes that you've made?
Well, I've really made a lot. So I've really taken to heart a lot of the instruction that you've given about lists, about not making my list too long so that I end the day feeling frustrated, about having one big thing. I guess that what I'm mentioning isn't so much about unit planning. I guess what I've done on that front is I spent some time this summer front loading what the first month was going to look like pretty much day to day, and that really lifted a lot of stress off of my soul. So I had that done. Now what I'm finding as we get into September that maybe I have a few days here and there. Maybe I'm going to have a sub, so I can't do what I would have done with the class. So I have to adjust that. Or I have 2 or 3 extra days that I want to fill in. And what's the standard that I want to hit? And what do I already have that's good, that's gonna fill that in and be engaging for the kids. But still, that still is like this overload of information, even when I look at what I myself have saved from Teachers Pay Teachers. And I try to curate all those lists of different go-to activities, but I'm not there yet.
Okay, so you're feeling like you have a lot of resources and a lot of things to fit through. It sounds like there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle you're trying to incorporate because lesson planning is complicated.
Well, it is. And you know what? When I was lesson planning in September for what was going to work for the first few weeks of school, because my team and I, we just say, it's story elements. We start out the year with story elements. I'm actually looking at the calendar and being realistic this year about how long it's going to take to get through some of these things. And here I am saying, okay, are we going to do theme or are we going to do elements of plot? Because really, there isn't time for both right now. Which it's strange to actually acknowledge that, that
Yes.
you realize those are both just bread and butter things that in this English class I've got to teach sometime this year, but when? And no wonder the unit that I planned as having taken, it's only supposed to take 2 weeks. No wonder it takes a month because I was never being realistic about it in the first place.
Yeah, I think you hit on something really important there, which is really getting realistic with that you're just not going to be able to teach every skill as well as you would like. It's just not possible. And you're probably not going to get permission from anyone in your school or your district to do that. Like we can't just say, oh, well, I guess we're just not hitting that standard well enough. But it's the reality. There's too many things you're trying to teach with too many interruptions, too many distractions, too many things that are sort of, taking away from your class time, and you're just not going to be able to do everything to get every kid to master all those standards. And I think that can be a big frustration with lesson planning because you think, okay, maybe if I just spend a little bit more time on this, I can figure out how to make it all fit. Maybe I find this one magical resource that's suddenly going to get every kid there, and it's going to all these skills that I didn't get to teach yet are going to all come together, and I'll just work harder. And then it will happen. And I think realizing that it's not going to happen, that putting in that extra time for lesson planning doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to fit everything in can really help a lot. Does that make sense?
It makes a tremendous amount of sense because I just think of the years and the hours that I've spent trying to do just that. And then when I find a way to maybe be just a little bit more efficient with what I'm doing, it's overwhelming to the kids. And that week in class was really rushed. I'm maybe not very patient.
Yes, that's another good point too. Right. So when we overplan, we end up rushing the kids constantly. They can feel that we're trying to cram too much in. Okay. So all of that is making sense. What do you think is the main thing that I could help you figure out today?
How do I create that go-to list of some high leverage, some engaging strategies that are a good fit for me as a teacher, something I could see myself doing, and that are just going to be good for the kids.
So I like that you're even looking for this because I think a lot of teachers don't even know it's something to be thinking about. So what you're talking about really is not trying to reinvent the wheel, right? Like not trying to have a different activity for every single day, but to have sort of some go-to strategies that are open-ended and versatile and that you can use for different lessons. Is that what you're looking for?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So do you feel like you have a handful of those things to start with?
I feel like I have some, yes.
I mean, you must have some after 25 years, right? I think you might be underestimating the bag of tricks right now.
You're right. There's always the jigsaw. There's always Cornell notes. Yeah, those are a couple of go-tos.
Right. And they're things that sound really basic as teachers, like, yeah, that's been around a long time. I know that. That's not new and exciting to me. But if it's effective for kids, that's a really good strategy. Like Cornell notes are something you could be doing all the time if you know that it really works for your kids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it could be giving yourself permission to not have quite so many things to choose from, particularly since you feel like you're already spending a lot of time looking through all of these things, that you've downloaded from Teachers Pay Teachers and different things that you've collected over the years, to maybe sort of pare back, to take some time to figure out what is actually most impactful. Which things do I feel like are really giving me the most bang for my buck, and trying to incorporate those a little bit more.
It's easier with my honors kids because most of them are reading at grade level. Now with them, it's really pretty easy for me to be able to give them a text, give them an article, something out of the textbook or something supplemental that I found. And there's a summarizing strategy called One Word at a Time that I just love. The kids read a paragraph, they stop, they write a keyword. They collect all those keywords together and they turn those into a paragraph.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
They love that too.
Yeah, it's really powerful. So, and I also can do that one with my regular blocks, just making sure that it's text that they can be looking at independently, and that's kind of hard.
Have you been able to look through the resource from the 40-Hour Teacher Workweek Club called the Teacher's Box of Tricks?
I was just looking at that again just the other day, and I think I need to spend more time with that. Yeah, I do. I'll make sure and give that another look because I did see some things that I liked. I think the last time when they came out last year, it was so much, and then I kind of forgot about them. I almost felt like I had to read that aloud to myself or something to really envision the kids doing the things.
Yes. Yeah, it's a lot to process because it's 30 different activities, that are open-ended, and you have to think about how is that going to fit into my lessons. But I think if you go through that document, I think there'll be a couple that just stand out to you right away. Like, oh, I get it. That makes sense to me. I can envision that in my classroom, and just start with that. So if you can get, say, 3 or 4 things from that resource, and then you have 3 or 4 already, now we're talking about 8 strategies. Well, that's 2 weeks worth of lesson materials. You can rotate through those, like assuming then, okay, out of a 2-week time period, maybe 2 of those days will probably end up being testing or something like that. Or review, whatever. So if you have like 8 days of instruction in a 2-week period, you can rotate through those 8 activities, and then the next 2 weeks rotate through those 8 things again. So the kids are only doing each one twice a month. That's really not that much. And it's enough for them to get proficient with it so they understand what the expectations are and they're really focused on the skill rather than always trying to figure out, okay, what does she want me to do? What are we supposed to be doing here?
Okay.
How does that sound? Repeating something like that, repeating the same types of activities.
What I could see myself doing with that is maybe even just like having that on some kind of document that it's just, it's go-to. It's in my binder or my clipboard, so that I can always have that and see it and it's on one page.
Exactly. And would you feel comfortable repeating activities that much? So you were having them do that same thing twice in 1 month?
Yeah, I like that actually. And the kids like those routines. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely good with that.
I think actually as teachers, we get bored faster than the kids do. And I think that's particularly true at the secondary level because your kids are only with you, 45 minutes a day?
I have them for 2 periods.
Okay, so you have them for 90?
Mm-hmm.
For 90 minutes, right? So they're only with you for 90 minutes a day. So, it can feel like because you're doing the same thing with multiple groups of kids, you're going to get bored of it way before they are. They're not spending really that much time with you. And I feel like at the elementary level, yeah, you have the same kids all day long, but I mean, the littler ones really love the repetition. It takes a lot longer for them to get bored with it. So I think a lot of times we end up not wanting to repeat activities, but if it's something the kids like, then you can do that. And if you feel like you're pulling that activity out again and the kids are like, oh man, we have to do that again, then that's your clue. Okay, maybe I've overused this. But I think in many cases, we're underusing effective strategies instead of overusing them. We're finding something that works and like, that's cool. Let me go find something else that works. But you already found it. You already found something awesome. So take that and do more of what's already working instead of trying to find more things that work.
Okay.
So that could simplify your lesson planning a lot. If you think about, okay, I've got these 8 to 10 strategies, then each day you can just plug one of those into your plans instead of trying to think of something each time.
Mm-hmm.
So you had mentioned earlier that that it was taking you a long time to get out the door on Friday afternoons. Is that when you're doing your lesson planning?
That would be when I am kind of plugging in which activity, which day. What I've kind of found, like in the last year or two that I think works is to kind of get all those puzzle pieces plugged into the next week. And there's a lot of routines, things that, like we do a DOL kind of activity. So that's already done. I give them some grammar work. That's already done. Like all I have to do is copy those things. That's done. but yeah, I guess just wrapping my brain around, yeah, there's an assembly on Wednesday. There's a
Mhm.
sub on Thursday. I'm going to be out on Friday. Um, it kind of takes me a while.
Mhm.
and,
And
and,
how long do you stay late on Fridays?
um, let's see, contract time, we can get out at 3:15. I'm there until 5:30, pretty regularly. Maybe not every Friday. I've been really good so far this year, but I find I'm not as busy in the fall as a lot of other teachers.
And
So,
do you feel like how are you feeling about your work hours overall?
gosh, if I could leave every day at 4, contracts times at 3:15, if I could leave at 4, I'd be happy.
What I heard you sound more hesitant about was the idea of just being there until 5 something on Fridays. Is there anything else you're doing on Friday afternoons besides looking at your lesson plans for the week ahead and sort of plugging things in?
A lot of times, what I'm also doing is kids have turned in some work on Fridays. They've turned in that week's worth of exit tickets. I have to go through those. I have to put them in the right piles because, like I said, I feel like if it's fresh in my mind, I don't want to. I don't want to wait on that. So I can't start planning till I do that. I can't start planning till I kind of have my desk cleaned off. I've imposed a rule on myself that I'm not supposed to read email after school. That if I don't get through it during my prep, then I don't get to it.
Mhm.
Um,
Do you do exit tickets every day?
most days, yeah. So,
What if you didn't give them on Fridays?
so just have them turn it in on Thursday.
Mhm. And then it's just one less thing to do on Friday. Do you need to have that information?
Well, I suppose not, right? Like a lot of times I have them reflect on the week. It's kind of nice for me to go through them. It kind of makes me feel good, to be honest, of things that
Okay.
they talk about that they learned or that they still need
Yeah.
practice with. It makes me feel like a good teacher, but maybe it's like one of those third rails that you mentioned.
Mhm.
That I don't know. Do they do?
Well, I mean, you're willing to consider that it's not a good idea. So I don't think it's a third rail for you necessarily. And I think if it's something that makes you feel good, then I'm sort of into keeping that. Like anything that's motivating and that brings you back to I made an impact this week. My kids actually learned something and I did a good job and this is I'm having an impact here. I think that's good. I would keep that then.
Okay, okay.
Is there something else then on Friday afternoon that maybe you could cut back on?
Hmm. I need to be better about having the kids get the room straightened at the end of the day, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's not me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to think. I really think of it, a lot of it is just that planning. It's clearing off my desk, all the papers that wound up on my desk, throughout the
Mm-hmm.
day. Um, I love the Fridays where the kids are doing more seat time and I'm doing less teaching. I really try to go for those. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they're so much happier. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't always pull that off, just depending on what we did and didn't get done. Or if we're reading a
Mm-hmm.
novel, right? Like we're reading Outsiders right now. So we kind of had to finish up with our chapters for the week and have a quiz.
Yeah, that's good to know about yourself too, that that's a helpful thing, because you're the one who's creating the assignments that you then have to, grade and plan more for. So if there's a specific type that is better for you to give on Friday so that you are able to get things done, then that's something to think about too. You can just, sort of spread out the activities a little different during the week.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that's good too. So um, would it feel better if you left at I think you said 4:15 was the time you wanted to leave?
Yeah. Four.
Is it
Four,
4?
four,
If
yeah,
you
4:15, yeah.
what if you left at 4 and could some of those things be done on Monday instead? Would that help or would that make it worse because then it feels like it's undone?
And that feels a little panicky.
Okay.
Yeah. I at least like to have it laid out.
If Friday was the only day you were staying late, would that make it feel better?
Yes, it would.
So maybe that's the place to look then. How can you work on leaving around 4 Monday to Thursday, and then you just know, okay, Friday's my day. I stay an extra hour and I get things done.
Okay. Or what I like even better, I don't know, Friday. That's my favorite day of the week. I think that I'm a little bitter.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I'm a little bitter about it. So I think that I should really try to protect Thursdays, of not having appointments, not having meetings, things I have to do, and I should probably really be more intentional about staying late on Thursday.
Okay. That's a good solution too. When I was student teaching, my mentor teacher always picked Fridays to stay late. She would stay till like 6:30 on Fridays, and I was like, "Who wants to do that before their weekend? Are you kidding me?"
And I've done that. Yeah, I've been there that late.
Yeah, and she's like, "Well, it just makes me feel more prepared for the next day, but for the next week." But I understand what you're saying. There's something about Friday. People are going out to happy hour, and the family's excited for the weekend, and you have friends who are doing interesting things, and it's like, oh, I don't want to be stuck in this classroom. So if Thursday feels better, then that's good.
Okay. And yeah, truthfully, our school does happy hour the first Friday of the month. And, sometimes I can't make it because I have an appointment or something with my kids. But there have been so many times that I'm like, oh, I'm going to really try. And then it doesn't happen. I'm still there.
So if you can move even a portion of it to Thursday, because I have a feeling that some of it still needs to be done Friday because you need to have closure to the week and you need to be ready for Monday. But if you could even just do most of it on Thursdays, that would probably help a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I need to, do that.
Anything else around this that you think we can talk through?
How do you gracefully like, I love my colleagues so much. Like, they're my friends. Some of them are my friends outside of work. Some of them are my friends inside of, just at school, but I love them. I've been there a long time. How do you gracefully step away from some of the chit chat and conversations without being that person of, well, I have to go back to work, and it's hard. It's hard when I genuinely just really like them and I care about what they're up to and things. But I do find that I'll get done with some of those conversations that have maybe it's draining for me. You've talked about what energizes you, what drains you. And I mean, when it comes right down to it, a lot of times that stuff really drains me.
I wonder if maybe you could just set a boundary for yourself. I'll do that Monday to Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday I can't because I need to start preparing for the week ahead and I want to get out of here on time. And I think that would feel fair enough to say to people too. Like, I would love to stand out here with you guys. This is so much more fun than getting my work done, but I'm going to go in because I want to be able to leave.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I wonder too, I think as my time is more freed up, my kids are driving now. It's amazing. But, and if I do get better with this time, maybe I can just ask people to lunch or ask them, to go to happy hour on a Thursday. I mean, even if they're too busy to do it, but if they just see that I do care and I want to know what's happening with them.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And how much more fun would that be to be out at a restaurant relaxing instead of just standing in your hallway knowing that you've got work to do?
Exactly. Oh my gosh. It just weighs on me. It just does. I'm a worker bee, and I like to get my work done. So I like that.
Okay, so we're looking at socializing more, or at least offering to socialize sometime after school when you can all really relax, and really being strict about not doing it Thursday and Friday afternoons, because Thursday and Friday you're really trying to get out of there because you're going to spread out over the 2 days.
Yeah. Or maybe stay later on Thursday. Maybe stay later than 4 if I need to, just knowing that this is so I don't have to stay late on Friday.
Okay, so right. So Thursday is your later day. Friday, you're out of there by 4. But both of those days, not chit-chatting. As soon as the kids are gone, get to work because, you got to get stuff planned on Thursday, and Friday you want to get out of there.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's something you enjoy your colleagues too outside of school.
Yeah.
And then the other piece is having those go-to activities of going through the teacher's box of tricks, picking a couple things that you've covered on your own, and then sort of pulling from those when you're doing your lesson plan so that you're not spending so much time looking for new ideas.
Right. So that's a little bit of front loading that I'll need to do, or maybe even just maybe I should just open up a Word document, because I found another good one just recently at a staff development we just had, and to just start to kind of copy paste those into a document.
I think that's a great idea, because you probably have, I'm guessing, Rebecca, I bet you have like 50 really good go-to strategies. It's just things you've forgotten about, and I think they'll come to you throughout the year too. I think one day you'll be teaching me like, oh yeah, I remember 3 years ago I did this one thing and it was really cool. And now if you have a place to put it in that doc, now you won't forget about it and you can return to that over and over again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Put it into that doc. I like that.
Yep. Because I know you have tons of good ideas.
Well, right. And you forget about them, or once in a while I'll go through and open all the folders on my computer of things. And I just say, oh, wow, I forgot all about this. This was so great,
Yep. Yeah. And that's the dilemma of being a teacher, right? Because you're always uncovering new things. You're hearing about new ideas. There's so much you could be doing. And that's what creates the overwhelm, because there's so many possibilities. And it's the fun and creative and enjoyable part of the job. At least for me, I love, just thinking about different ways to do things. But it can also just be a tremendous time suck. And it's not necessary. If the end goal is to help kids learn, that doesn't require something new all the time.
It's true. And sometimes I'll just think, well, I'll just go on Teachers Pay Teachers and I'll look for something, and that'll be faster than combing through all of my stuff. Well, but then we both know that's not true. Yeah. That's a rabbit hole. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to look at everything and shop, but.
Exactly. Right. Because then you're choosing the fun thing over the thing that ultimately is going to, I think, get you better results. So anything else we talked about that you want to take action on right away, or anything else, as you think back to the different things we discussed that really stands out to you?
Well, so many good ideas that you just gave me. I just wanted to thank you. You've changed my life, to be honest with you. You've just given me so many things to think about. And I don't know if 40-hour teacher work week is my favorite or fewer things better. There's a quote that I have a bookmark on, and it says, staying perpetually overcommitted is a way that people hold themselves back from what their true goals are, that it's a self-sabotage behavior. And that one just hit me so hard, just on a outside of school and an in-school level. And I've just really been trying to work on just having more open time, of just not having a calendar full of things all the time. It's so powerful.
If you want to have conversations like this to streamline your systems and maximize your time, get on the wait list for the 40-hour Teacher Workweek Club. I'll be releasing a brand new 6-week version of the club in January 2020. It's called 40-Hour Fast Track. It's designed to reduce your workload and your work hours right away by giving you just the most impactful strategies from the club. Go to 40htw.com to learn more. Have a great week. You can do this. And don't forget, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be worth it.